Another year, another monstrous moment. Like with the Star of Ultra edition, I try to keep the moment I talk about related to the upcoming IP, and with Gamera Rebirth on the horizon, reviving the friend of all children, I thought I wanted to talk about the most brutal and downright disrespectful moment in this man's career. I should also state that this scene was also done for one monstrous moment a while ago by Minecraft World. This part in the script I'm actually writing post-hoc because I completely forgot that someone had done this, and I was searching specifically to get the original PNG for one monstrous moment for the thumbnail and was listening to some of them, and then that video came up. Please give that video a like and also give him a sub, as his analysis is not going to be the same as mine, so watch us both. This scene on the ADV copy of the film is referred to officially as Gamera vs. Gyaos Showdown in Shibuya. But as we go through this moment, the butchering of Shibuya, or the butchering of Gyaos, I believe is a far more apt description. We start the scene on a light note with Inspector Osaka, who has gone from inspector to security guard to bum, doing what bums love to do most: get drunk and argue with other bums about how they aren't actually drunk.
At least I'm not drunk.
But starting from this point of levity and fun bit of continuity gives us an emotional high point before it all goes downhill and we get to feel the terror of this scene. The music immediately lets us know that this is a serious matter, and as a viewer, even though we've seen the events of Legion, them killing civilians and nuking a city, Osaka personally knows what the Gyaos are capable of, as he was more directly in danger from them versus when he faced the Legion. And given how large one Gyaos could get, their return could mean multiple large Gyauses, and regardless of how much outside material you consider canonical, the return of the civilization-ending Gyaos after having just dealt with the Legion would be a nightmarish prospect that isn't made a joke, despite the original rather silly framing. We also hear the sound of the iconic saucer flying noise, and more people begin to take notice, but the music is barely audible above the noise of the crowd and people beginning to look up at the sky. And then finally, a bang. Something was hit, and like a firework lights up the sky. But as the fireball begins to fall to the ground, there's still many people who haven't noticed, and the scene coming up here helps build up that tension even more.
I've got a part for you.
And this interaction, though definitely creepy, helps to show that a lot of people are still in their own worlds, even with what's above them about to impact their lives in a dramatic way. And as this interaction goes on, we see this back and forth intercut with the falling monster, and as it falls, we hear its roar, showing that it's not only still alive, and that the city could become a war zone like Tokyo did in '93.
Oh, I get it. You just want me back in your office for some creepy audition.
It isn't until Gyaos finally falls to the ground that the people take notice, but the stage is now set and it is cued with that musical sting. But on a side note, considering the ending fight takes place also in a train station, it is poetic that Gyaos also so happens to impact in a train station. And with a torn wing coming up from the destroyed train station in a roar, we see people screaming, which to me isn't just because it's a monster, but because it is specifically Gyaos and what Gyaos means to people. And on cue, Gamera begins to land. Unlike his other appearances, which were far more heroic in their first outing, from this shot, we see the damage Gamera produces, as the winds Gamera is producing are causing people to be pulled up and flown about, and others are having to run in terror as to not be stepped on. We also then get to see this mid-flight transition from air to land, with Gamera's shell, which was far more naturalistic in his second outing, looking a lot more like scale mail, and jutting out from his back like spikes before compressing to a far more turtle-like shell with a satisfying crunch. Given what's about to happen, this almost to me feels like he's metaphorically cracking his knuckles before he does the deed. And finally, the turtle puts his foot down, and again we see the human perspective as more are sent flying, and an after shot of the survivors wading through the destruction. Unlike Godzilla, which is the direct result of nuclear weapons, this scene to me reminds us that kaiju are still these destructive forces, even if they aren't thematically the folly of men, and I believe it just adds to that wonderful human perspective that this film, and this scene in particular, really gives a satisfying vibe to. And even as we get the reveal of the suit, we don't get that iconic word just yet. Instead, through the smoke we hear that guttural hiss until we get that money shot with the spectacular framing and Gamera's roar. And as crowds begin to flee, Gamera makes his move, And we have to commend the suit actor for this amazing job he does with that first step. It has this wonderful weight to it, and the effects we see as it crumbles a structure beneath him lets the audience know how destructive Gamera is simply by walking, and the unintended consequences and casualties because of that. Now, although sent to the ground, Gyaos is not dead, and even injured, it is still able to kill people, and when I mean injured, I mean injured. An eyeball dangled, torn wing, and broken crest. Gyaos has been used for body horror in this trilogy before, but in those cases, these Gyaos were already dead. The state it's in, combined with the rasp of breathing it's producing, just shows how much pain it's in, but its whimpering alerts Gamera to its location, who turns with this low menacing growl. Combined with the fact that the suit is just far more vicious looking, it gives this illusion that Gamera is far more the aggressor and almost the villain in this scene. I haven't made mention of the track playing, titled Destruction of Shibuya, until now. It mainly begins with these low single notes, one just higher than the other. And their pacing is very similar to another famous track for a creature. Take a listen. This is why calling this scene a versus isn't accurate to me. Gamera isn't fighting a Gyaos, Gamera is hunting. And this shot right here, again, Gamera almost looks like the villain. There is this intimidating presence with his design and the sounds he's making outside of his iconic roar. Gamera, he looks like he's got that dog in him. And the man can fly. It's not just metaphorical, he is literal Black Air Force energy in this film. And we know that because they cut to people fleeing from him, and Gamera's supposed to be the hero throughout this trilogy. So this almost heel turn from him, it's perfect and combines with this almost pathetic view of Gyaos here. As Gamera gets closer, Gyaos' cries get more frantic and higher pitched. And given the state it's in and how the world views Gamera, it presents this idea that Gamera's almost being sadistic here, like he's taking his time to walk over to this creature that's not able to escape him and is almost begging for its life. But in my opinion, because we know what Gyaos does, any sympathy that might be gleaned, or to try to make the argument that Gamera is going too far or is almost a menace, is lost on me, because it is far more satisfying to see a heroic character, this embodiment of justice, take out a completely evil creature. And since Gyaos is literally referred to as the shadow of evil, the almost care Gamera is taking here, it is wonderful to watch, and it helps us understand the fear that creature might be feeling, although not necessarily sympathizing or empathizing with. We then finally see Gamera begin to charge up a fireball, with people looking on from what they believe is a safe distance. Looking down one last time, we see Gamera's smoking mouth give a final growl as the Gyaos gives out a final cry, almost like a wait or a no please, as Gamera executes her at point blank range. The destruction from the blast takes out several other buildings and causes the people who've been looking at the event to scatter. And through the fire, we see the iconic silhouette of Gamera, who lets out an iconic roar, and also it helps us superficially paint Gamera as unnecessarily destructive, and therefore in the mind of our anti-villain of the film, Ayane, justifying further her choice to raise Iris so that she can kill Gamera. As Gamera continues to wade further into the city, he's launching fireballs left and right, causing several to miss, and therefore resulting in further destruction. And here we see that Gamera has gone full consequentialist ethics in order to kill this one Gyaos right here. However, we also see Gamera save this one child by deflecting a sonic scalpel from Gyaos with his hand. This not only being the second time he's done this, but also the second time he's done it with a child present. And to further prove my point that this is a slaughter, not a fight, the first time Gyaos did this to Gamera, he was bleeding. All it did this time was bounce off his skin, and granted, these are more evolved Gyaos. Canonically, despite looking more streamlined, are larger than Super Gyaos in every way, meaning Gamera is now leagues and bounds stronger than he was back then, and leagues and bounds stronger than even the strongest Gyaos are at this point. And we see that some Gyaos jibs result in some bathos humor for Asako, and although I don't like bathos and see it often used poorly in kaiju films, I believe this moment works because the whole moment began with humor, we had the tension build up and release, and have it end with that character humor feels like it's probably bookending this moment. We also get to see an acknowledgement of Gamera protecting this child, and the music properly conveying the pain and destruction caused with the scene of Shibuya on fire. And again, although humor is used, it is used only for Osako, and not for the destruction of Shibuya or this child's plight. But humor, terror, dread, action, it all adds up to be this one monstrous moment. Thank you for watching mine. Check out my Patreon and Ko-fi, links in the description, and enjoy the other videos in the playlist. I'm Zimzilla, and I'll see y'all next time.